quiet and just look at it. How much of that would you be comfortable losing if the market crashed tomorrow? Just look at them with a straight face, because you know what almost everyone's gonna say? None, right? Like, you say all of it, you're like, that's weird, right? Like, no, I don't think anybody's gonna answer that way. They're gonna tell you, well, I don't wanna lose any of it, right? And the follow-up question that I ask, this is what I personally say when I find annuities. So out of that, let's just say 100,000, how much of that do you want to protect? What do they say?
All of it.
All of it, right?
All of it, yeah.
Perfect. Now, there are some accounts that we offer that you may be able to qualify for that will allow you to protect your money. But what I can do is if you can give me a statement, I can go back to the office, talk to the financial professionals, look at the best companies that protect retirement, and see if we can help you as well. What I can do is come back same time next week or whenever you want to set up the appointment, right? Don't be like, I'll come back tomorrow. Like if you say that, then they're kind of like, oh, this dude really wants it. But if you say, I'll come back the next time next week or in a couple of days, whatever, right? Like, you know your schedule. I'll come back the same time next week. Then they give you the statement, and what you just did there is you said, like the way I said is, we may be able to help you qualify for that. Like, now they understand that they have to qualify for that. It's not just something that you're just trying to sell them on. When you do that, now they're like, well, dude, I don't want to lose my money, right? They're like, I don't want to lose money. I want to protect my money. I want to see if I can qualify for that. And then they don't even know what it is yet because you haven't even said anything, right? Now you already have, now they look forward to that second appointment almost more than you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You said get me a statement. What I can do is take it back to the office and get the what?
Give me a statement. What I can do is take it back to the office, talk with the financial professionals at the best companies that offer retirement protection. Some, you can just say something like that. I say something along those lines, dude. Like, it doesn't even have to be word for word, but just pretty much say that you're gonna go back to the office, talk to some important people, and see if they can qualify. That's literally like the message you're trying to convey. However you want to tell them that, just make sure it sounds good. Like, say that. So anything along those lines. And then what's gonna happen is they're gonna be like, okay, cool. Like, now the next step is what? What's the next step after you have just said that line? What's the next step? What's the next step for them? What action are they gonna take right after?
Statement.
They're gonna get you a statement, which is all you need. All you need is a statement. You don't need to sell them on like why it's an index and all. You don't need any of that. You don't need to do any of that. Once you leave and you get a statement, you're like, hey, whoever, your upline or whoever, okay, I got a statement for 100,000, or I got a statement for 150 or 500. Now what? That's when your job as the agent alone begins. You don't need to include the client with any of this stuff, right? So those are just some of, like, those questions right there are the questions that are gonna make you the money. It's that, because people, everything what I'm gonna show you right now, doesn't even matter if you can't do that. If you can't do that and you're not doing that because you're like afraid to ask or you don't know how to ask, right? None of this stuff is gonna matter. It doesn't matter how great of an index, it doesn't matter how great the company is, it doesn't matter how any of these annuities even work if you can't even get a statement or any of that. So that's what I'm teaching you guys, how to find it. If you can figure out how to find it, all the resources that you need to, act on this is gonna be there for you. We have the AMS team, and we have a bunch of people in our agency, Relentless, that know how to already do this stuff. So you guys are in great hands. You guys have the easiest job. Just ask the question, get the statement, bring it to the people that know how to help you. We're gonna help you, show you what to do with it, and then boom, it's done. Does that make sense? So now let's say another thing that I do sometimes, if I get a little bit of kickback and they say, well, what's an annuity, or how does it work, or what accounts are they, how do they work? One of the things that I do is, this is a presentation. This is a little graph that I use, and it's super simple. Like you can do it on a napkin or wherever, and you can literally just find annuities like that, right? What like this, right? So I'll say, all right, so Miguel, there's 3 types of accounts where we can put our money into. Okay, the first one is called a fixed account. Okay, let me give you an example of a fixed account. Or do you know any examples of a fixed account?
No.
No? Okay, so the most common examples that we can think of for fixed accounts, Miguel, are such as a CD with the bank, right?
Okay.
How much interest do we get in this? Like
1%.
at 1% if you're lucky, right? Mine, I'm big with Chase and they pay me like 0.0 nothing, right?
Pennies.
And I say that and they laugh. They're 0.0 nothing, they always laugh when I say that.
Yeah.
Right? So a CD, anything in the bank, right? Then, well, what's the upside of having our money in the bank?
Safe.
Safe, right? For the most part, it's pretty safe in here. And I'll say, what's the downside here?
No growth.
Right? You have no, let's say we go with this. It's the bank, right? So what's the downside of the bank? Y'all, let me ask you a question. How much interest does the bank pay us for us having our money with the bank?
None, almost.
Almost nothing, right?
Yeah.
So you get no to low interest. And you know, I used to put no interest, but I had to change that once. Because one time I had a client that said, well, I get 0.0 something, so it's not no. And I was like, dude. So I switched it all up just for that guy, right?
Yeah.
No to low, because now you can't say nothing, because that's true, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you got a variable account. Okay, and there's this like, I don't know, I read this in like a sales book somewhere, like sometimes clients with like big decisions, so like big amounts of money or whatever, they need to like they need to be told the same thing like in 3 different ways. So this is just another way of saying that your money is safe. That's all it is, right? But now this, I guess, is a visual for them. So you're pretty much saying the same thing, but now they're able to see it. And if it didn't click by you just telling them that or asking them a question, maybe it'll click by them with this, right? So then, but most people have their money in one of these 2 accounts. The next one here is the variable account. Right? Do you know what's an example of a variable account? The most common one, Miguel, is actually anything that has to do with the stock market. For example, like that 401k you said you have, right? That's a variable account. 401ks, IRAs, stocks. Now you can use the same things like crypto, whatever. I don't know, you can say whatever you want. You don't have to put that, but those are all, anything that goes up and down is variable, just so you guys know, right? So what's the upside of having your money what's the upside of having your money in your account?
Potential for growth.
Yeah.
When
Growth
the
of
market's doing well, what happens with your money?
It grows.
It grows, right? You do well. So you have the potential of a high rate of return. Potential, because it's not guaranteed, it's just potential, right? All right, what's the downside though? Miguel, just like you can do great and you can kill it, what can also happen? And I do this with my hands.
Yeah.
Just like you can kill it and do great, what also happens in the market?
You lose.
You lose, right?
Actually.
Miguel, have you experienced any of those losses before?
Yes, I have.
What was the biggest loss you've experienced in the market?
This year I lost 60,000.
60,000? Miguel, how much more $60,000 losses can you afford to have?
Not many. I'm about to retire.
Things like that, like just poke at it. Just like you're like indirectly just poking at it. You see that? Like, so boom. I had him tell me that. I'm having him answer all this stuff. Because in sales, right, there's this thing, Sales 101. I don't know where I read this before or where I've seen it, but if you say it, they defend it. But if they say it, they own it. So if you want that person to do something, have them say it. So you ask them the question that gets them to answer their whatever you're trying to get them to steer them to, and now it's them making a decision versus you telling them what to do. They're telling you what they're about to do because you asked them to do that. But it's a psychological thing where they think they're in control, but they're really not, right? So that's the thing. Now the downside here is what? there's high risk involved, right? High risk. Okay? And the third account is called an indexed account. Okay? An indexed account. An example of this can be a fixed index. Am I right? Horrible. Annuity, right? Whatever, I'm just gonna leave it like that. A fixed indexed annuity, okay? I'll say that. Now, by the way, Miguel, have you ever heard of a fixed index annuity? You don't even have to say the fixed part. You can just say index if you want. You don't have to put that, but I do it. It's just, I just do it. Okay, it's a fixed index. Have you ever heard of a fixed index annuity before,
Never.
Miguel? Never? You know what's crazy? Most people have. Okay, most people haven't, except for the people that really know about money. And they have this in their portfolio. And you're about to see why, okay? The upside here, Miguel, is this. Your money is safe. Okay?
Okay.
So whatever you put into this account, it will never go down. Okay? Now, what is the downside of an index annuity? Okay, let me explain to you. Everything has a downside, right? Everything has to have a downside, right?
Yep.
If the market goes up, let's just say 10%, you participate in only 6 to 8% of those gains. So you don't participate in all of the upside, but you never lose, okay? You will never have to worry about losing a single penny when your money is inside of this account. And every time the market goes up, you will participate in those gains, all right? Now let me give you an example. And I used to say what I'm about to say, even when I didn't have a client. Like I used to kind of make this up, right? But it was like manifestation because it became true. So this is how I got my first rollover, literally, by doing this. I was like, so I had a client, and I never had a client, right? But one day, I was just talking in the future, you know? So I had a client with $250,000 in a 401k, okay? And they've experienced losses before in the past, right? Some in 2001, some in 2007, some even before that in the 90s when the market corrected itself then as well, right? That lady was about to retire in the next 12 to 14 months, right? From that to, and I would tailor it kind of to like where they were. Like this little story, I would kind of tailor it to them. Like if I know they're close to retirement, I'll put up whatever number, like whatever I think they have, or if I know they have, I'll put something very similar, and I'll just kind of like, I'll try to make that their number, right? So they can kind of see it, like understand it, and it hits home for them. And I would say, she had $250,000, she retired, she didn't have a pension afterward, all she had was this $250,000 and what she was gonna get from Social Security. Miguel, how much of that $250,000 do you think she wanted to lose?
None.
None. How much of it do you think she wanted to protect?
All of it.
So what we were able to do for her is she qualified for a 100% transfer or rollover at no cost to her account, transferred over to an index annuity. So now she will never have to worry about losing her hard-earned money, and it will still be able to participate in the market growth. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Do you have any questions on that?
No.
They usually will.
Oh, they won't.
They usually will tell you, how do I do that for me?
Mhm.
That's usually what you're gonna get. They're gonna be like, well, how do you have to qualify? Or how do you have, like, that's what you're I'm trying to set it up to where when it comes down to the close, they've already closed themselves, and I'm just like helping you out at this point. You know what I mean? Like, cause you know I'm your guy, you know I can help people do this. I'm trying to get you to identify a problem that you didn't even know you had, which was your money's exposed to market losses. You didn't even know that, and you didn't even know how bad it could affect you, right? And so I'll show them something like that, and then if he says no, let's just say he says no, I don't have any questions. What I will say then is this, okay, Miguel, let me ask you a question. From your current 401k, you said you currently have roughly around 300,000 in there?
Yep.
Got it. So from this 300,000, like I asked this client, I'll ask you, Miguel, how much of this can you afford to lose?
None of it.
So doesn't it make sense that we protect your money as well and see if you can qualify for one of these index annuity accounts?
Well, I have bad health. I don't think I'll qualify.
You have bad health, you don't think you'll qualify? You think, are you saying that because you think this is like life insurance and you've applied with life insurance before?
Yep.
And you've been declined?
Mhm.
The great news, Miguel, is this is not life insurance. This account is actually underwritten or approved, like you don't qualify for it the same way you qualify for life insurance. This has a different guideline on how they will decline you or approve you. The best way to find out whether or not we can get you approved is you submit an application, send it to the insurance, send it to the company. At that point, we'll know whether or not you can get approved, and we can go from there. That make sense?
Okay.
All I would need, Miguel, is an ID and your statement, and we can submit this application right now.
Okay.
And that's it, boom, just do something like that, and that's literally it. But the main questions that I'll get, objections and annuities, and I'll tell you guys is this, like, this is important. Cause financial advisors sometimes will tell, like, a financial advisor is never gonna want their client to move their money out of the stocks, cause they get paid fees, right? So what you guys will come across is that the client will tell, they'll be pumped up and they'll do a rollover, and then they'll say, well, I talked to my advisor, and my advisor said that, like, even if I do lose, I'm still gonna get the money back. Like, they'll say something like that, right? And then this is important for you to know. You're not gonna always use this, but just have this, okay? So just remember this, a 50% loss in the stock market, right? A 50% loss in the stock market requires a 100% gain just to get back. Just to get back to where you were. So let me show you an example, right? I'll show you, and I sometimes would draw this out for them. Every time I've done an annuity, not every time, but sometimes that I've done it, I show this just to like solidify that. If they go talk to their advisor, it's not gonna change their mind because they already know. Like if the advisor tries to tell them, and I tell them, if your advisor tries to tell you that you'll make it back up and you only lose if you take your money out, well, number one, you already agreed with me that you can't afford to take that money yet, that you can't afford to lose any money. And again, retirement, it's not getting any further, it's getting closer. How many years do you want to waste trying to catch up where you currently are right now? Right?
None. Yeah.
None, right?
None.
And then I'll show them like an example of why this is true. Okay, so you have 100,000, right? If you lose a 50% loss, what's a 50% loss of this?
50
grand, that's easy, right? Like this isn't complicated, it's pretty simple. 50 grand. So if you lost 50,000, how much do you have now?
50,000.
50,000, right? Okay, so that year you were negative 50. Well, let's say the following year, the market goes up 50, right? 50%. How much do you have now?
75.
Why 75?
Because it's only 50% of it.
Right, because it's now 50% of your overall account value. And because your account value dropped, 50% of your new account balance is only 25,000. That's how you come up with that 75,000, right? So you see how a 50% loss requires a 100% gain? Well, you're like teaching your clients, and they're like, damn, this is great, right? and so now they feel empowered. And guess what? Their advisor, if the advisor tries to tell them not to do it because they're gonna make up for it, now they know they don't have time to make up for it. They don't want to lose money, and all it's gonna do is it's gonna solidify that rollover for you. And you don't have to know all this stuff, by the way. But this is just at some point you should. But to the beginning, those questions and all that stuff, that's all you need to get the statement. Like you can let someone like your upline or whoever handle all this part and do the closing. But this is literally how I would find annuities when in the beginning of my career, like literally just doing stuff like this, right? And I'll tell you what, I didn't start doing annuities until like my 3rd year in insurance, because I was like afraid of asking the questions. I was afraid. I thought like I had to be like, I started real young, so I thought I had to be like older and all these things. So It's not even true at all. No, it's not true at all. So, any questions on this stuff?
Yes, I have.
Go ahead.
Whenever we tell them that it's based on if they qualify or not, and what if they rebuttal asking what do they, what are they checking to see if they qualify or not?
So what I would do, that's a great question. Well, okay, ask me, so. Ask me the question. Ask me the rebuttal. Oh, give me the rebuttal.
Oh, got it. So what would I need to qualify or get declined? What is it based off of?
All I have to do is, if you give me your statement, right, all I have to do is take that back to the office, gather different opinions from different financial companies. They will be able to come and give me a better answer for you, so then I can come back next week and give you that exact answer. So if you can just give me your last statement, I'll be able to do that for you.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to answer that.
Cool.
But I'll tell you the answer, but you don't need that. But that's how you answer it, but you don't need to answer it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
All you need is, it's suitability. So life insurance requires what? Your health, right?
Health, exactly.
Here, it's like your financial health. If all your money is tied up inside of this annuity, and it seems like, so annuities, like, see, this is how it can get a little complicated. So annuities qualify you based off of your financial situation. So if the insurance company thinks that, or whatever, the annuity company thinks that you're gonna take out this money that you're putting into the annuity, that if they think that you're gonna be able to start touching it right away, you may not qualify for certain annuities.
Got it.
And there are certain types of annuities as well, that there's different types of annuities that exist, but for the most part, the suitability is usually, can this person live without this money and pay their bills, have 6 months worth of does this person, if this person does this rollover, next week are we gonna get a call saying, hey, I need the money to pay my rent?
Got it.
If the answer is yes, then,
Oh, yeah, it's
You're probably,
right, but you shouldn't worry about that until you have got the statement and you're talking to your upline.
got it.
Because I'll be able to do that right there.
Or any form of large amounts.
Huh?
There's no health underwriting, right?
There's no health underwriting. It has nothing to do, it's your financial health. How's your financial health, right? If you're like on dialysis financially, you're probably not gonna qualify for a, you know what I mean?
That was great.
That's
Do bankruptcies, affect that?
bankruptcies? That's a good question.
It is?
It is a question
Yeah.
on the application.
Got it.
No, I haven't came across that. I know I've had a client that I did a rollover for that did have a bankruptcy in the past too, though.
You
But
just
like,
have to disclose it. I think it's a
Oh,
question
okay.
on there you have to disclose, but it has not, I don't think it has anything to do with it.
bless you.
Thank you.
Got it.
Because dude, if you have access, if you have all that money and you went bankrupt, like the fact that you still have it and you went bankrupt, probably means that no one's coming for it, or else they probably would have came for it. I assume, right? So.
Guys, I have this thing that I'm gonna send to the group chat so you guys can download. I got this page laminated because all what Marco said, you guys, all you have to worry about is just get the statement. Cause then you can have one-on-ones and Marco will prep you of exactly what to say, illustrations, everything. But this is kind of what helps. I'm gonna post it right now in the group chat so you guys can pull it. I laminated this, so sometimes to get the statements, I would show them this chart of how they work, and they really it went a long way. So let me try to find it, and then they usually would be like, yeah, that's what I want.
Marco, I wish I saw this training when I started, bro.
Really,
Because
guys?
this is so simple. Guys, who thinks they could say the FBI? Fixed variable.
Fixed
index.
variable.
I was actually gonna make a chart. And
Yeah.
I just
We
showed
should,
them
honestly, Josh, we probably
Fixed
should.
variable index, already have it charted out, like you said. Dude, that's gold.
Yeah.
that.
Because everybody can explain that.
It's simple, right?
And that makes 100% sense.
Dude, just think about, Josh, how much premium at least, even since you guys started, right? Since I started, the whole agency, right? Because you guys have done it, you guys know how to do it, right? But the whole agency, we did 5.8 million issue pay last year, just Supreme agency, and nobody knew how to write annuities. And I did, and I didn't train anybody. I don't know why, but I just figured everybody knew how to do it. I don't know. But
Hey, but you should, real talk, you should do that for the whole hierarchy.
yeah,
That's so easy.
Yep.
Like,
Let's do it.
anybody can follow that.
Dude, this is an extra. Think about it. If you have 100 people presenting this a week, how much more premium? And let me break down how premium works here with annuities. You roll over 100,000, right? 10% of that counts towards your issue paid. So that's 10K on your issue paid towards your next promotion, towards your Hall of Fame goals, and anything, to your next comp, towards whatever incentives that either the company or the hierarchy are running. That's how much you get for that.
10K?
Go ahead. Issue paid, yeah.
There's no fee for the client, right?
Nope.
So it's a no-brainer.
There you go.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can hit Hall of Fame with a $4 million annuity.
You can hit Hall of Fame with the $4 million. Go ahead.
There's no transfer fee, but what about annual fee?
Nope.
It depends
We're
on
not
the
advisors, we don't get annual fees.
But
There could be charges if you add them.
Okay, this is why it's important. You need to get the statements because in the statements you can do even if the client's eligible to move it. Because they can have statements, but they might be like already into it. They might already be in an annuity that has a surrender fee, or they might be not of age. So if you guys just get the statements and say, hey, we're gonna do some research, find the product for you to see if it's even eligible for you. And then that's when you can go into the
Right.
different companies.
That's what that is.
So one thing else, damn, I was gonna say.
Get the statement and call Marco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the statement, yeah, pretty much. Like, I can tell you that right off the bat, like, that is the most important part. Like, oh, I was gonna say this. Don't worry about closing an annuity in your first appointment. I have never seen somebody close an annuity in the first appointment. I don't even think Jesse Hanna does it, and he's like really good at it.
No.
Right? It usually takes 2, sometimes even 3 to 4 appointments to close it. Because think about it, you're dealing with people. We're dealing with a large sum of money here, right? So for people, like, that's everything that they have. It's everything that they worked their entire life for. They're not just gonna give it to somebody who just showed up at the doorstep and sign off on it right off the bat. They'll trust you with the life insurance, right? But for something like this, it usually takes 2, 3, 4 appointments. And that's normal, by the way. So knowing that it takes multiple appointments, at least 2, I think if you know that, you're not so like hesitant to try to close it all right then and there. And it makes you feel more comfortable, like, oh yeah, I just gotta get a statement. Because you already know you're gonna have to come back anyway. Just get the statement, call your upline, come back, boom.
And the clients feel way more comfortable with you as well. Because guys, someone that's usually trying to scam someone, they don't keep showing up, right?
Right.
They usually try about one-time deal and I'm out.
Yep.
But the clients will feel a lot more comfortable if you're doing the due diligence to
Yeah.
give you info.
Exactly, and then if they say, oh, well, like if you ever try to get whatever, if you get any kickback whatsoever about the statement thing, and you shouldn't, confidence is something that's transferred from agent to client. So if the client is skeptical, it's probably because you look skeptical, or you're sounding skeptical, or you're coming off skeptical, right? Like, people buy into like your energy and your confidence. So if your energy is there, your confidence is there, and you seem to know exactly what you're talking about, they're gonna give you the statement right then and there, because it's just a statement. Well, I mean, what can you possibly do with the statement? You know, like nothing, right? But if for whatever reason you do get kickback, you can always just say, oh, you don't have a paper statement, you don't have to give it to me. You can just email it, download it real quick. Is it there? Just email it to this email right there. Is it there? Make sure you get it. Okay, I got it here. It's in my email. You don't have to worry about giving me a physical statement or whatever. If that happens, not that it will, probably won't. But if it did, have them email it to you, right? That's how you do that. And then, those are some of the things that are super important. Let me tell you real quick who can for sure roll over money. Number 1 is anybody who's 59 and a half, right? And they're working or not. If they're working at the job that gave them the 401k, they can still roll it over. Okay? So it's not just people who have an old 401k. I've done rollovers for people who are still working at their job, but they're past this age, therefore they are eligible to roll over the money, okay? Now, if they're younger than this, 59.5. Now, they can't be at their current job unless it's like there's very few like jobs that you can have that allow you to roll your money over before this age. Like if you're vested after this much years working as like usually people that work like the state or whatever, they could do it like at 50 usually, but that's not the rule of thumb. It's usually, this is the rule of thumb that you should go by. Anybody who is under this age and no longer working at that job that gave them the 401k, they can still roll it over. Anybody who has an IRA, an individual retirement account, they can roll it over. This doesn't have to, you don't have to have a certain age to be able to roll it. You can roll it at whatever age you want. That's pretty much it, right? That's pretty much it right there. So that pretty much it covers everything for annuities that you need to know. Anything else from here, anything else besides this point, guys, is only important in the scenario that we're dealing with, and every scenario is different. So you won't need to know the other stuff until there's a reason for you to know, because it's just gonna confuse you. And what you don't want is, you guys ever heard of paralysis of analysis, where you're just thinking so much that you don't do anything, right? Like that, don't do that. So just, this is all you guys need. And those questions are the most important questions you can ask. Without asking the questions, you're not even gonna find the opportunity to be able to do this, right? Remember, we are identifying a problem that they didn't even know they had. And then these little diagrams show them that you're the solution to their problem. And once you make that problem theirs, dude, it's game over. Because now they want you and your service, right?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Let's say during the time of the picture of getting the statement, they go ahead and ask, well, one, how much can I pull out? And two, how soon?
Same answer as last time.
Okay.
Same thing. That's a great question. I'll definitely make sure to talk to the companies that have the best retirement protection accounts, and I'll clean that answer next week when I come back, okay?
Got it.
Next week when I come back, I'm gonna have all your answers, everything answered for you, all your questions answered. I'm gonna have some options for you, and we'll be able to make the best decision for you. If I can help you out, great. If not, at least now you know what your options are, okay?
Got it.
Just very like non-confrontational, right? Because you don't need to know that. You don't need to know that. You don't need to know that then. Once you get past step 1, we'll worry about step 2. And then because the reason why I don't want to answer this question for you right now is because every situation that can vary. So there isn't just one rule of thumb answer for that. It can be different for every scenario. So if I say this, and then he goes and finds an annuity, that situation could be a totally different thing. Now he's thinking it's the same. Now he confuses that person, and he's confused. So now everybody's like, "What's going on here?"
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Any other question on the annuity stuff? What's up, Manny? Any questions on this?
Question. What happens if one of them says, "Can I pull out money at any time?"
Can you pull out money at any time?
If the client says that.
That's a great question.
So what I'm assuming is the first appointment that you bring up the annuity is just soak in all their questions and come back with answers the second time if they qualify.
Yep. Assuming that you're able to qualify, sir, we'll know those answers. But first we gotta make sure you qualify. So I gotta go and take the statement back to the companies and see if you can qualify. If I know you can qualify, I'll be able to answer those questions specifically for your case. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
That's
You came
it.
up on the spot, huh?
Huh?
You came up with that on the spot.
I come up with everything I said on the
That's
spot.
All of this was a.
No, not this. But dude, it's like, all you need to know is the concept. Like, you need to know the concept. I don't say, what, like these questions that I say, I don't say them exactly word for word every time, but it's something very similar to that. Like, I'm saying the same thing, just like in a different way, like I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing, but it's
Yeah.
the same thing, you know? That's all it is. But anything else on annuities? Anything? I think that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah,
For
I think we're
annuities.
good. Yeah. Yep.
Did you,
Solid.
you need me to touch on the other
Well,
stuff?
Yes, sir, please, just very basic.
After this presentation, like to the client, and then we come back to them a week later, and let's say they do qualify, is that gonna be for another day where we learn?
Once they do qualify?
Yeah.
No, first appointment, guest statement. Second, well, step one is guest statement. Step two is talk to a retirement specialist. That retirement specialist could be the AMS, could be your upline, or somebody within the hierarchy that knows what they're talking about. That's step two, right? Step three is figure out find client solutions. So, like what product, what's gonna be the client's options, right? And then when you go back, show them the option and you complete the application right there online. It's an e-app, so you complete the application. The next time you go back to the client, you should be able to submit an application. Unless something comes up where, well, I talked to my financial advisor, like, then appointment number 2 is now kind of like this, right? And then re-solidifying what you said again. But for the most part, appointment number 2 should be to close the policy.
But you'll have instruction at that point, like specific instruction.
All right.
Nothing else matters if step 1 doesn't get done.
Yeah, you don't want to get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, you do not want to get ahead of yourself. Like, just don't overthink, bro. Just keep it super simple. Just get the statement, and that is it. You don't need nothing else, bro. Anything else is just gonna clog your brain with space. So,
Cool, I think we're solid on that.
yeah. Anybody else have any questions at all on annuities?
I do have one in annuities, but it's not in roll number. Like, what about if someone wants to start an annuity and start funding it by itself? Like, can they do that?
Yeah, they can do that. You can start an annuity by funding it by yourself. You could. My question would be is why do you want to start an annuity for yourself?
Because I'm at 1099 and I don't have one.
So, okay, but why annuity? Like, why not a different,
What would it be another option?
like, you could start an IUL, like a good funded IUL. So, assuming you come to the conclusion that the annuity is the option you want to go with, yes, you could. But for the most part, for people, especially if they're like healthy and they can qualify, a max funded IUL or a properly funded IUL is gonna give you better. It's gonna give you more things than an annuity. So that's what I would say. All right. So now I'm gonna talk a little bit about IUL. So this is another